the reason why we feel a lot of stress and pressure in our lives is our mind is ahead of our body, or our body is ahead of our mind. A lot of the time, a lot of anxiety is experienced in our minds. When you look around you and you touch and you feel, you come back here to where you can make a change.
They are experiencing so much more anxiety than ever before. So a little technique like that could really help them.
When you have this conversation with yourself and you ask yourself, why, you get to the root of the worry and something that's actually actionable. And that's how you turn anxiety into action.
Let's talk about anxiety for a minute because it's rife. Anxiety and fear and overwhelm, they're so big. If someone is experiencing that right now, what do you suggest?
Well, first of all, I definitely say that if you're experiencing anxiety, it's worth seeing a medical health professional, a therapist, someone who is medically qualified to work you through that anxiety. And I always say to people, like, don't wait for it to get really bad to turn to someone. So I was speaking to a good friend of mine yesterday. I've been doing a daily live for World Mental Health Day, but we extended it for a week on Instagram. And I was speaking to Lori Gottlieb, who's an incredible therapist. She wrote a book called Maybe You Should Talk to Someone. It's a brilliant book. And she's been a therapist for relationships, couples, individuals for around 3 decades or more, I believe. So has a ton of experience. And she was saying to me that if someone injured their arm and it was getting worse, they wouldn't wait to say, oh, I'm going to wait till I have a broken arm to go to the doctor. If you've hurt your arm, you're going to go get checked out and see what's wrong with it. You're not going to wait till it gets really bad. And sometimes with our mind or our anxiety, we wait till it gets really bad before we do something about it. So I highly recommend seeing someone. Now, if you're someone who wants to be more proactive about it, and you're someone who's experiencing anxiety and you want to do something right now, I've found that there are some incredible methods and techniques and practices that can truly help. One of my favorite ones is a method I learned living as a monk for grounding and centering. And today I've seen that psychologists and therapists use this to help people get out of their head, because a lot of anxiety is us becoming fiction writers. So we've all watched too many movies and we've read too many fiction books. And now we've become these directors of movies of, oh my gosh, what if this happens? And we get completely lost writing this what if chapter in our lives. And so this practice that I learned as a monk, but has also been practiced by psychologists and therapists today, is really, really powerful. And it's called the 5-4-3-2-1 method. And the way it works is you want to look around you and ask yourself, what are 5 things I can see? So I can see the sky, I can see the ceiling, I can see the floor, I can see the wall, and one more thing, I can see the door. So what are the 5 things around me? And you can do it right now, wherever you're sitting, as long as you're not driving. What can you see? Then it's asking yourself, what are the 4 things I can touch? So I can touch the shirt that I'm wearing, I can touch the shorts that I'm wearing, I can touch the laptop, I can touch this book that I'm pretending is a tripod, and I can touch this marble table that I have in front of me. So 4 things that I can touch, and really touch them. When you touch them, notice the texture. Notice the difference in the coolness and the warmth. This marble table is really, really cool, but the chair that I'm sitting on is far more medium, and the top I'm wearing is actually much warmer because of my body heat. Notice those subtle things. Then what are the 3 things that you can hear? So be silent for a second. I can hear myself breathe. I can hear some white noise. I can hear Melissa thinking. And so those are 3 things. What are the 2 things that you can smell? Inhale. Could be nothing, but you may find I can definitely smell some sort of nature sense around my home where I am right now. And then maybe nothing else. Or maybe I can smell a bit of, my moisturizer or something like that. And then what's the one thing that I can taste? I can taste the lunch that I just had for sure. And so when you do the 5-4-3-2-1 method, what you're doing is you're getting out of your head and you're getting into your physical space. A lot of the time, a lot of anxiety is experienced in our minds. When you look around you and you touch and you feel, you come back here to where you can make a change. And so that's been one of my favorite practices that I've done. Another one that I've really practiced is breath work. I'm a big practitioner and proponent of breath work. It was a huge part of our meditation as monks. And for me, my favorite breathwork practice, really simple, which I do multiple times per day when I feel anxious, is breathing in for a count of 4 and breathing out for more than 4. So you want to extend your exhale. And this is the simplest form. You won't hyperventilate. It doesn't require any skill. And you want to practice something known as diaphragmatic breathing. And the best way to do that, which I was trained in, was placing your left palm on your stomach, breathing in through your nose and feeling your stomach come out, and breathing out through your mouth and feeling your stomach go in. Breathe in through your nose and feel your stomach come out. Breathing out through your mouth and feeling your stomach go in. Once more, in through your nose and your stomach out. Out through your mouth and your stomach in. Now, whether that feels natural or unnatural to you, diaphragmatic breathing is optimal breathing. It's used by musicians who play wind instruments. It's used by singers who have to hit really high notes. It's used by athletes who have to run. And so whenever I find myself feeling out of sync, and I'll explain to you what that means, the reason why we feel a lot of stress and pressure in our lives is our mind is ahead of our body, or our body is ahead of our mind. And I'll explain what I mean. How many times do you wake up in the morning and your mind is racing everywhere, trying to do everything, and your body's like, ugh, I just want to be in bed, right? Or you experience the opposite. Your body wakes up and you're running around doing lots of stuff, and your mind is like, ugh, I'm still in bed. And so our mind and our body are constantly out of sync. Even when you feel anxiety, your mind's kind of racing and your body's like trying to keep up with it. And so when you breathe in and out and you count your inhale and you count your exhale, in for 4, out for more than 4, you're realigning your body with your breath and your mind with the count. And so you're bringing yourself back into sync. And the way breath work was expressed, I won't tell the story from the book, but to summarize it, breath work is really powerful because we look at all of our emotions in our life based on our breath. And I'll give you an example of positive and negative emotions. So positive emotions, that view is breathtaking, or he or she takes my breath away. It's something that we say about a positive emotion. But we also use the word breath in a negative emotion. We say things like, let me just catch my breath. Or if someone shares some bad news with you, you say, I just need to take a breath. And so breath is intertwined and interconnected into every emotion we experience. What changes when you feel happy? Your breath. What changes when you feel sad? Your breath. And so when you learn to navigate your breath, you can really start to navigate every emotion that you experience. So those are some of the ways that I've definitely worked with anxiety. And the third principle, which I'd love to share more, which is more about anxiety and fear, is something in the book that I call the why ladder. And you were talking about asking your intention, Melissa, which I thought was absolutely beautiful. And this is similar to that. And I want to give you an example of an anxiety or a fear I had and my wife had at the beginning of the lockdown. So me and my wife, the first thing when we heard about the lockdown was, what if something happens to our parents back in London? So me and my wife live in LA. Our parents and our families are back in London. Our parents, our sisters, our nephew, our niece, we have so much family back in London. And so our first fear and anxiety was, what if something happens to our parents? So the why ladder suggests, and this is something we learned as a monk as questioning, is asking yourself, why am I scared of that? So I was scared of my family and what if something happens to them in COVID? I said, why am I scared of that? I was scared because I wasn't there and I wouldn't be able to fly back if something happened to them and I wouldn't be able to spend time with them. And I asked myself, why am I scared of that? And I thought, because I haven't spent any time with them and I haven't seen them and I want to be with them and I miss them and I want to spend time with them. And I asked myself, why am I scared of that? And I realized that the root of my anxiety and fear was I don't show them enough love. I don't express my love to them enough. So my fear was that I can't go back. But really, at the heart of it, my fear was I'm not calling them enough. I'm not messaging them enough. I'm not present enough for them. I'm not showing as much love as I think they deserve. And that is a fear that is useful and healthy because you can do something about it. And that's what we have to do. When you have this conversation with yourself and you ask yourself, why? You get to the root of the worry and something that's actually actionable. And that's how you turn anxiety into action.
Oh, I love these so much. So great. Such great techniques. And I particularly love the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 for children as well, because I have a 14-year-old stepson and I can imagine, sharing that with him and getting him to do those 5, 4, 3, 2, 1s and really helping them, because I feel like children as well, that the younger generation, they're the first generation, his generation, to have grown up with phones during those primary school, I think you guys might call it middle school years. And so they are experiencing so much more anxiety than ever before. So a little technique like that could really help them. So I love those. Thank you so much.